Hello everyone, Ugodre here. This is Drinks and Mics brought to you by Naira Metrics. I have with me my fellow drinkers, but let me reintroduce myself. My name is Otumba Ugodre.
Allow me to introduce myself.
Anyway, just kidding. I have our fellow drinkers with me. To my right. I'd like to start, from my right. To my right, we'll have Otumba, the real Otumba.
Del Toro.
Otumba Del.
Del Toro.
A few out there, but we need money to back it up.
All the money you've been making is, what are you saying? I know. We're going to talk about that though. So to my left, of course, we'll have Otumba Arnold. Should we give it Otumba Arnold?
Yeah, Otumba Arnold. We're all Otumba today.
That kind of sounds nice.
I love it.
It's World Otumba Day.
I love it, yeah.
And of course, the extreme left, your favorite guy, Otumba Tuji Adris. Tuji gets all the attention.
Hot take. Tuni, what's
like comment section. I don't know why. You seem to get all the attention.
Some guys all the headlines as well.
Yeah, all the headlines as well.
Some guys says Tuji just likes to be contrarian. I'm like,
But what's your hot take this week though?
Yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, very busy week. Of course, we all know it's been a busy week all through. But let me first of all start by thanking our partners. Today we got drinks from Ledrop. Thanks to the guys at Ledrop. We will try and drink responsibly. Of course, drink responsibly all the time. We always say that we're not alcoholics. We're very responsible. Why are you laughing?
No, we're not. No, I agree. No, I agree. I agree. We're not alcoholics.
Okay, because I was wondering why you were laughing.
Responsible drinkers.
All right, so we quickly delve into matters of the day. Trade wars. I mean, nothing we can do about this. Whole lot of trade wars. The world is about trade wars now, and during the week, things ratcheted up. Donald Trump slammed tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Canada did their own reprisal tariffs. In fact, at some point, they said they were going to. Canada actually threatened to switch off power supply to some parts of the US that depend on Canada for power. And of course, Trump then slammed 50% tariffs on Canada as well. And then Trump also made do with his threat to slam, was it 50% tariffs on steel, global steel imports into the US. And that has also reverberated across markets with the EU also reciprocating. So it's as if it's basbos, global basbos.
Yeah.
China also slammed Canada as well.
Exactly. So what's going on, man? Where is this all? I mean, are we just at the start of it? Because at some point we were like, this is just, things will fizzle out. But it looks as if we're just warming up.
Honestly, for me, I feel like all bets are off. Right? In terms of, if you felt that, like there's going to be a massive, run for safety right now. Right? So I think that for me, people are going to move aggressively to gold. We're going to move into Swiss francs. There's going to be, for the kind of chaos that the US is creating, right?
I like how you said chaos.
It is chaotic. I think that the price to be paid will be the fact that the markets are obviously splitting a lot of losses. And the thing is, I just don't know how long that is going to go on for. You saw the impact of that on oil prices last week. And very quickly, we saw how that affected even the Naira here, where we started seeing some weaknesses in the currency. So I think that, whatever the US is doing is going to have a major impact on every player. But I think going forward, what most countries should do, and over the next 4 years, is most countries are going to say to themselves, if US is our trading partner for this commodity, how do we find alternative 2 and 3?
Yeah.
Countries are going to start looking for ways to be, how do I look inward and say, how can I be self-sufficient?
Exactly.
One of the key examples I always look at is Qatar. If you remember when Qatar was cut off by Saudi and UAE, right? They used to depend on UAE for milk, for bread, But what happened with that cut off is that they said to themselves, we need to look inwards. And very soon you saw that Qatar today is better off, even though those things have now been resolved, they're better off because now they're able to produce their own food. They're looking inwards as how can we do things for ourselves, or how can we find second layers of trading partners. And that is what you're going to see across, right? I think particularly Europe, especially now that they're also thinking about reinforcing their military base. people are going to think very differently about the next 4 years.
But US threat, is it about maybe stimulating your own domestic production, or I thought it was about looking for new export partners? Because I mean, the world sees US as that destination for exports, especially valuable exports, because of their purchasing power.
So I was going to ask the question around. So the Qatar example is Qatar looking inwards for self-sufficiency. A lot of these countries rely on export to the US, Mexico, Canada. I mean, Canada is threatening switching off electricity. The question is, when you switch it off, who do you give the electricity to? Electricity is not something you can just put in a bottle, and just save for tomorrow. So the significant thing I feel people don't see with Trump is that,
I mean, you can turn off your turbines, though, but go ahead.
yeah, but then what happens? I mean, this is significant revenue loss to you.
Yeah, but it's right now, I think chaos is war.
Yeah.
But
there are casualties everywhere.
We're actually in a war situation right now, right? It might not be that we're dropping bombs, but these tariffs are essentially
It's an act of war.
So how do you think
Yeah,
this
I mean-
ends? How do you think this ends?
No, I think
How do you think?
I look at Canada as an example. A country of that landmass, they have a lot of gas, they have a lot of oil, but they don't drill it. Right? I mean, again, I'm not going to go into the political aspect of whether we're conservative or but Canada has always been a environmentalist, green, carbon, the carbon tax and all of that. But I feel at some point you're going to say to yourselves, we need to drill the oil to first of all strengthen our economy, right? So we don't depend too much on America. They're essentially almost like an extension of America. And you say to yourself, how do we build an economy for us?
Yeah.
Right? Today you have a home crisis in Canada because they refuse to cut trees, right? At some point, we have to say to ourselves, we need to cut some trees, build more homes, and then try and bring down the prices.
What about domestic consumption in Canada? Is it strong enough to hold the economy together? Because that's another thing that America provides to Canada, just being next door.
Yeah, but I can show the other people. I'll give an example, right? Russia has always been the provider of gas to Europe, right? What stops? There was a deal where Japan went to Canada to say, we want to sign a gas deal with you. And Canada said, well, they're not interested because, again,
They have the US.
Exactly. So they went to the US.
Yeah.
Such deals will come to Canada next time. They will look at it, right? What is stopping Canada from piping gas from Canada to Europe? There's so many other alternatives, but the truth is, because we've always all been dependent on America as the off-taker of choice, nobody has looked at alternatives. So now you have to look at level 2 and level 3.
Will the Canadian people accept high inflation, I mean, harsh economy between now and the time they find an alternative to the US? Because they are completely reliant on the US.
Someone said they're very patriotic now until they get broke.
Of course, they will be
also,
broke
these
very
things
soon.
take time, though.
It will
These
take
things
time.
take time. This is not a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year. This is.
But you need to start. You need to start that journey, right? You've seen what the Ontario governor said. He said he was ready to cut off power to New York.
Off the lights.
Like switch it off,
Switch off the
right?
lights.
And the truth is, in a situation where you're telling people that will make you a 51 state, or you're calling our prime minister governor, it's insulting and very insultive, right? And I think people are going to rise up and be patriotic to the extent that, you know what, we're Canadians, we want to start with ourselves, we'll take the pain. And frankly, you look at the impact of what Trump has done to the election, right? Trudeau was actually, was going to leave low approval ratings.
But now his approval ratings are better.
And Pierre was essentially going to have a landslide.
Yeah, now he's going to battle with Carney.
Now he's barely going to. Now
Carney's
Carney's looking like Carney's going to. So the elections, if they do elections come September, the bull case for Pierre on the, that bull case is gone.
So Arnold, I was reading something recently, and they were trying to analyze Trump, and Trump has always been some guy who worries a lot about markets.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it tends to shift goalposts when it affects markets.
Yeah.
So, but he's also someone that's very passionate about tariffs, and he just believes tariffs just does the job for him.
Okay.
So, is he? Do you see him maybe sacrificing markets for tariffs now? Because I think I saw him. I think was it yesterday or 2 days ago? He said, "Look, markets go up and down.
And he doesn't care about markets.
We got to make this economy work for us." So it looks like he's more like sacrificing markets for tariffs.
So there's this huge thing everyone's talking about, recession fears because of the markets. And I'll be honest, I'm with Trump on this, where it's not that market goes up or down. I don't think this whole sell-off is that much of a big deal. And let me explain, right? So you're talking about...
Are you sure Adam is not buying the
No, but I have been saying this for a while.
He might be buying the damn deep.
Today, the S&P is at... A few months ago, it was at 6,000. It was at 5,900. Now it's at 5,600. 5 years ago, it was at 2,500.
That's 5 years.
But that's just 5
significant.
years ago. And then recession phase, if you look at all the recession, look at the global financial crisis in 2009, 07 to 09, look at dot-com bubble, recession phase. Go back to all the recession phase up until the 70s. There are a few things that moved the markets, right? You had your equity sell-off, you had the US Treasury rally, which has happened. But then you had Japanese bonds rally, and the German bonds rallied. But in this recession fear, German bonds are all-time high. The yields are all-time high. No rally. As in, the yields haven't dropped because you had the drop in yields in the previous recession phase. German bonds all-time high. Japanese bonds all-time high. So the recession phase and the huge market crash is actually not... The market isn't...
So you think markets are overreacting, basically?
I think the news is overreacting. I think markets just rebalancing.
Okay, so if they're overreacting, then that's like opportunity to buy the dip, innit?
That's exactly what it is. Buy the dip.
For sure.
That's exactly what it is.
This is one recession. This is one recession that will not look like a recession.
So if you had $100,000 now, Tunji, you buy the dip straight up?
100%.
Are you kidding? Look, let me tell you.
The market was overpriced.
Let me tell you what's been happening. Let me tell you what's been happening over the last week, right? I'm just randomly anywhere. I'm just my phone. I just get this notifications. I have these notifications. I see it's dipped. I just buy a bit more. I just buy a bit more.
Buy the dip.
I just buy a bit more. It dips, I buy a bit more.
The market is not... If you really look at the market...
Is that what you're doing?
I honestly think that the market needs to get punished further. I feel like the markets need to tank further.
Yeah.
These are people's pensions, man.
No, it was.
It's not. If you really
tank.
think about it, it's not.
It's not going to tank.
It's just a rebalance.
There needs to be a price for the chaos you're causing, right? That's the way I.
Are you sure?
You can't get away with.
Are you
all
sure?
Of this.
Are you sure that we're not being too moralist about this whole Trump thing?
Too moralist.
What do you mean by moralist? No, explain. No.
I have no fundamental problem. Oh, Tunji, hold on. I have a fundamental problem with putting on tariffs. The how is the issue, right? So yesterday, some guys came to Trump and said, "Can you just even outline to what is your philosophy?
Yeah, some CEOs.
What is the logic behind the market?"
Well, he says he wants to rebuild America,
and he's like, "Oh, they're always asking those questions. Why are they asking those questions? Like,
So he's not the technical guy, though. But this is one of the things I've seen him do, and is also part of his crypto chase. You're beginning to see that a lot of the ideas, a lot of the things he's pushing are not really fundamentally his ideas. He's been able to bring a few people with very strong leanings to many things and brought them together. Now, yes, he does believe in tariffs, but a lot of the movement of the tariffs aren't really his. So I do not think that if they want to get the answer to that question, he's the one to ask.
No, but
which
should
of
know,
course.
though. But that, I mean, on that, and that's that one.
No.
You should be able to.
So the thing,
if you have an idea, you're working on it, and you should be able to articulate your idea.
So, for instance, when he went to tweet on Truth Social, when he went to tweet about the strategic reserves, and then he had to come back like a few minutes after to say, by the way, there's Bitcoin and there's Ethereum. When he was talking about the strategic reserve, he listed a few.
He left out Bitcoin.
He left out Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then market went crazy like, oh my God, it's not going to. And then he came back like a few minutes after, like, okay, by the way, there's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, and it. So you kind of feel that a lot of these ideas are not originally his. And this is not a bad thing.
He doesn't have to be. He bodies all the ideas.
So isn't that what a leader is?
Anybody else in the US economy today?
Isn't that what a leader is at the end of the day?
You don't have to bring the ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's try and refocus. Where does this end now? Because you're seeing Europe, you're seeing China react, Canada react. So it's basically Trump fighting his allies, and of course his arch enemy, quote, which is China. So do you see at some point a situation where everybody says, okay, you know what, okay, we're done, we've settled, no more tariffs? Or is there a point where some of these tariffs now become sticky? Because the 10% that he slammed on China in his first term remained all through the Biden era as well. right?
Yeah.
And now he's increased that tariff to China. So are we going to see a situation where tariffs go up? Because I don't see how Europe or Canada or Mexico, to a large extent, bow to him.
Why are tariffs bad?
I think there are some outlandish. No, but I think there are some outlandish numbers, like a 50% tariff on Canada or Canadian aluminum. I think there's some outlandish numbers there, but I do see a situation where some of these tariffs stay, like the 10% that has stayed since 2000 and it's still here. And maybe a couple more of the tariffs. And I don't think, especially when you look at the reason for the tariffs in terms of, in my view, the trade deficits.
That's not the reason for the tariffs.
I don't think tariffs are bad.
We said it here last week.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, that's what he keeps saying. At least
he also slams the trade deficit.
That's the global one.
It's the highest trade deficit the US has ever seen.
Because the US currency is the reserve currency. So what do you expect?
Still, you have to still figure out a way.
But I want to understand Tunji's point, because we just started, so I really don't know whether this stuff is getting to him. What exactly is good about tariffs? Like, I'm trying to understand that.
So what is bad? What is bad in? So
no, you said that tariffs are bad. So what's good about tariffs?
Yeah, so no, it's not about whether tariffs are good or bad. I generally believe, and this is what I find fascinating about Trump. He is the first person to put on his chest America first. And I do not believe any country in the world should think any differently. Love your, it's in the Bible, love your neighbor as yourself. First, love yourself, and then love your neighbor equally, right? So if you're going to love Canada, if you're going to love Mexico, you should give yourself that equal amount of love. So what America has been doing to Mexico and Canada has been playing essentially Big Daddy for a long while. You've just given them a market, hundreds of millions of people to sell to for years, and your economy is beginning to suffer for it long term.
How?
You have created a dependency on them. Look at the threat. You will switch off lights to people in America.
It's ridiculous now.
People that have been giving you revenue, billions in revenue for years.
Because you slam tariffs against them. So you got to have reciprocal tariffs.
You've
already told them you annex their country.
So I don't want to. That's a joke now. But I don't want to joke.
It's a joke. No,
how is that a joke? I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound simplistic. I don't want to sound
joke with them now.
I don't want to sound simplistic, but tariffs in my head ultimately is like I go into this into the wine shop and I ask, how much is this? And you tell me it is X Naira. And I say, what do you mean? It used to be X minus 300 Naira before. And you say it has increased.
Yeah.
I have two options. I either buy or go away or go and drink something cheaper. Abi? Mm-hmm. There are always options. This is a free market. He has chosen to say, this is the tariff I want to put to protect my own economy. Why is this such a bad thing?
No, it is such a bad thing because the tariffs...
You're dragging yourself into a recession.
Not even that.
So we're not going into another different conversation.
That's why this tariff... the recession argument makes sense. The tariff increase that you're seeing, let's even go by Trump's dictates. 1, fentanyl. 2, he believes that America is basically being gamed, subsidizing the world, leaving manufacturing jobs, taking manufacturing jobs out of America. But let's even go back. Why are manufacturing jobs leaving America? Because Americans don't want to work for those kind of jobs.
There was actually
cheaper. And that's the whole idea behind capitalism anyway. So you always want to go to where you can produce cheaper.
Yeah, of course.
And but that has worked.
It has to change. It worked for a while, but now it has to change.
Sorry?
Right? It worked
for a while.
Now it has to change.
But it has to change.
Why? The economy is not bad. What's wrong with the economy?
The US economy?
Yes.
The same economy we're talking about
than Europe.
By the way,
are you buying
I need to say something. It's important.
Is it a hot take?
Technically, the US
is it a hot take?
Technically, the US is in a recession. I don't know how they did not get into it this last time. Now, Trump or no Trump,
technically,
the recession is expected to happen. So this is not a Trump issue. This, however...
I said he wants to do
No.
You guys didn't.
I'm not MAGA. I'm more manner. I'm more manner than
What's
anything.
Make Nigeria great again. Is it manner? Make Nigeria great. Nga.
Whatever.
Naga.
So I'm more like it's technically there is, so it was the last GDP results, right? A lot of people still feel the economy performed a lot more stronger than they expected it to. There's been a lot of conversations around why the numbers were that strong, but ultimately there's a lot of talk. There are all sorts of analysis. There are all sorts of calculations here and there saying that technically the US should be in a recession. I do not believe that, and this is why I like the guy. Because I believe you have to take hard decisions, right? I like the guy for the fact that you see a recession coming. The easier option, the easier move right now is to continue to play to the gallery, continue to go in the direction. Maybe it is just for another few years. Let's just pass this. But if you start now to start to reorder things, now I don't like the guy's personality, but what he's doing for the country is something I believe that a lot of African leaders can borrow a leaf from. Standing strong on making their country great.
Can someone rescue me? I feel like...
Well, Tunji has just put a stamp on his whole thing because he's MAGA.
Can we talk about inflation? Let's move on. So US inflation numbers were out. Oh my God.
US inflation numbers. Okay, good.
Yeah, US inflation numbers out.
I like the segue.
2.8%. Slight dip from January. I mean, I think we all explained why January was a little bit higher last time, seasonal and all that. So 2.8%, slight drop. Even fell lower than, or rose slower than a lot of people expected.
Yeah.
But egg prices still pretty high in the US. Nothing has changed.
It's because of the Mexico issue. It's yes.
Okay.
Yes, but what we know.
Is it Trump?
He's not Trump.
Anyway, so I mean, my point is, I mean, the Fed has signaled that likely to keep rates stable, no changes.
Yeah.
So nothing much from this number. Nothing much. I mean, rates are likely to be stable. So
this is
nothing market.
This is
no market impact.
the big one is
The inflation is not come through yet because you haven't started pricing all this distortion.
Is a distortion
Right?
that we're
And
waiting
that means
for.
that I think that the upside risk to inflation is to the upside. It's going to go up. You're going to have very bad job numbers. So that means those indicators are going to keep coming
Job
up.
numbers were out
But
earlier.
the thing is,
and
right?
it
If
was
we
pretty bad.
think about it, if the value of the dollar reduces, if the dollar gets weaker at the same rate as the tariffs come in, inflation should not be affected. I'm thinking about it from economics 101, right?
Oh my God.
And maybe it's the whiskey, but it just hit
What's
me
your
right
point?
now.
No.
So we shouldn't, this inflation, if it's this inflationary environment everyone's talking about, I'm thinking about how the dollar is getting weaker. Dollar's down, 2-3% year to date.
And how much weaker is
No. As
what's
weak,
your point?
the weaker it
So,
gets, the more
inflation,
How much
I don't
weak
think
is-
tariffs will be inflationary.
How much weak is
I don't think
going to
tariffs will be
get?
inflationary.
So it now becomes
America.
For America, if the dollar reduces, if the dollar weakens,
then
how much?
it becomes more
rates.
expensive.
By how much?
Imports into the US becomes more expensive. That's what happens. Exports
Yeah,
become
but-
cheaper, but imports become expensive. Ordinary
Labor
Americans.
is expensive.
So every single thing
I
that they import
understand.
becomes more
labor
expensive. That's the
is
whole idea
a
of
constant
tariffs.
factor. It won't increase. It's still going to be the same price.
No, you're showing them. You're deporting them now. You're deporting your labor already.
No. So first of all, we saw a list of items that are likely to be affected by these tariffs directly. So there are a few items that are going to be affected immediately.
That's
there are
tariff. There's immigration, impact. There's too many things that.
Let's not lump things together. Let's not lump things together. Immigration is another conversation altogether.
Okay.
Let's focus on tariffs. Let's focus on tariffs and how it affects the average American person, right? So while we are worried about America having a high inflationary environment, there is also that follow along that happens with Mexico and Canada. I do not believe that all these reprisal tariffs are going to hold for long. It's like you have shouting from a position of a weaker position.
If you're the president, if you're the prime minister of Canada,
Yeah.
on what basis would you reverse your stats?
No, Tunji
If
wants
you're getting
the prime minister
bullied.
to go beg, just go,
I mean,
bow,
Baba, see,
kiss the ring.
in global orders, we understand that might is sometimes right. And this is not even military might. It is economic might. It is just the same way.
And that's why
It is just-
and that is why I've argued that, you know what, over the next 4 to 8 years, every country in this world is going to think about how do I create a number
Economic
two,
stability
a
for
number
my
two or
country.
number three
So
alternative.
can I
if
bring-
everybody is saying that Africa,
Can I bring the
America
alternate-
first,
can I bring
how
the-
can my country be
Africa
first in all conversations?
can I bring the
And we all look internally.
a similar situation in Nigeria?
Yeah.
So for a very long time, we've known, at least, I mean, maybe in the 90s and 2000s, we knew that a lot of the Tokunbo cars that came into Nigeria came in from a neighboring country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it became more easy for people to ship the cars there and then
drive it
smuggle them into Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Now that became a major economic driver for that country's seaport, and they earned a lot of significant dollars from doing that. Now, if I am the Nigerian president and I'm looking at that is revenue for my country that is going that I would never see. By the way, it then brings in all the other factors like pollution, cars that are not standard, also many things, all those troubles. But I don't get the revenue from it. What then do I do? Do I just continue to say, "Oh, I will look like a bad guy"?
Tell me, what do you do?
I'll do the same thing Trump is doing.
Increase tariffs?
I will slamp
You find a
anything
way
I can,
to
as in
not-
anything to.
As I said,
Funny
there's
though.
nothing wrong in increasing tariffs or whatever. We've done that with
Shock,
NAFTA. There've been negotiations back and forth. I've always
By the
said,
way, don't make me your president.
the how.
You can already see it
the
next
how,
week,
the
right?
how, the how is the problem. The how you handle it, you're creating. I feel like Trump is even my oxygen right now. Like it's on my Twitter page, it's on my Facebook. It's all we talk about, right? And he's in the news constantly. The how you do these things, there are ways that you do these things. Presidents have come in the past who have done all these things, negotiated tariffs, and we didn't have this big noise and
it's
chaos.
the
So
how,
I
it's the
think
how.
the how is the problem.
I think the problem.
Anyway, guys, you gotta
and
move on.
this is what Otuba is right.
It's
I think the
sensationalist.
fact that the
It's
guy is
annoying.
doesn't have a lot of finesse in the way he does these things is a problem. However, I'm always saying, and this is the way I think about it: strip all the Agbero behavior away.
He was
And look
endorsing
at-
Tesla this morning.
and look at
yesterday,
it from
right?
a
What'd you say?
He was
basic.
endorsing
Yeah,
Tesla.
I mean, Tesla shares tanked, so we went to endorse Tesla shares and it
Yeah,
bumped a little bit.
fun.
But we got to
But
move on, guys.
it's
Lots of
the
stuff to
delivery,
discuss today.
of
We've
course.
done over 20 minutes already on Trump.
We said 1 hour.
Yeah. So exchange rate dipped this week, caused a lot of concerns for a lot of people. We got a lot of messages from some of you asking why this is happening and if we could perhaps touch on it. And of course, the guys are here to try and understand what's going on. I think the last that I saw was NAFEM. I think this was yesterday. It was at 1537, depreciated from 1528. And then we've seen parallel market hit like 1560, 1585 at some point.
Yeah,
Some are
yeah.
even saying itching closer to 16. What's driving all of this? Like, why are we seeing exchange rate?
Well, I'm going to have a smile on my face through this because
Because you guys, what's your point?
this is exactly what I've been
What's your
talking
point?
about.
What have you been talking
No,
about?
but let's
Otuba speak. Otuba speak.
Listen,
Otuba,
I'm the Naira
we yield the
short.
floor to you.
No, I'm the Naira short. I'm the Naira short on this.
Now you're changing. Anyway.
No, I'm not changing.
Otuba, let's leave them.
So let's go back to the last week. Last week,
Okay, sorry.
Last
I
week-
won't get emotional with this
the
one.
tariff conversation happened. Noise. We saw Brent go down to more than 70.
Like 69,
And then,
68,
obviously,
69,
Nigeria's
of course.
correlation with oil prices, we saw a sell off in the Naira. Brent is back up now to 70. So that sort of short blip has corrected. But I think, for Nigeria is that, we haven't particularly fixed the flow problem, right? There's still a flow problem.
What do you say flow? How do you mean?
So I'll speak to some more things we talked about earlier. Is that today, right? We have about $7 billion, right? That has come in as OMO or treasury bills, right? I understand that we have another $5 billion.
Is it from a source? Or
From
is
a
it
source.
data? Okay.
This from the source.
Okay.
We have another $5 billion that has direct placements with the central bank. So probably monies in the market today, about $12 billion, all backed in one way, shape, or form is OMOs and treasury bills, right? What you then have now is if tomorrow, what happened after they did the rebasing, right, of inflation, where you then clawed back on treasury bill yields. Omo took the tank, took also corrected,
Yeah.
right? Is that when I look at Nigeria, that trade is not as attractive anymore, right? So when I could get 30% yield, right? Looking at Nigeria, now it's 23%, right? So I'm saying to myself, that risk off
Okay.
giving all
Can I
that's
just
happening-
go back home now?
So given all that's happening globally, right?
Let me just pull my money
Nigeria
back.
is not, doesn't begin to look attractive anymore.
And if you've
So-
made your money, don't need
So,
to
dear audience,
So
I like
Okay.
to, you know,
go back to episode 3 or 4.
exactly, and see that we told you so.
No, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood on this one because
this
I was
move-
heavily
But
debating on
Stereos,
this
let's
show.
just hear your views. Why?
No,
What do
okay.
you think is going on?
Yeah. So I mean, I think Otumba said it really. It's our heavy reliance on foreign portfolio inflows has
Yes.
come into play because we've opened up our markets to a volatile global environment. Right. So we've opened up our effects of volatile global environment. Yes, we are in a weaker dollar situation, which was always the risk to the trade or the risk to the idea. But it is what it is, where it's like our Naira is getting priced with oil, Naira is getting priced with everything that's going on around the world. And this FPIs have made the money, right? When they came in, when Omo was at 30% yield 1 year, Omo was 30% yield, one year TB was at 29 point something percent. The Naira was at 1,700, 1,600. We wanted to court these investors, and they're in, right? And we always knew that once they marked the positions to market, and they realized that now the T-bill that was at a 29% yield, almost a 30% yield, is now at a 21% yield, right? Your Omo that was at a 30% yield is now at a 22% yield. Your currency that was at 1,700 is now strengthening to 1,500 very quickly. Very quickly, you've made your money. I don't need to be here anymore. And then globally, the world is shaken, right? Trump is doing whatever he's doing. I am going to take my cash and I'm going to park it in US Treasuries. So what you're seeing now, even on the Eurobond side, even in the Nigerian Eurobond side, you're seeing Nigerian Eurobonds sell off because anyone holding anything Nigeria is worried, right? Eurobonds are selling off. So the spread between
Are
US
you
Treasury bills...
speculating?
No, this is real. This is happening right now. The spread between US Treasuries and Eurobonds are wide. Wider they've been in maybe a year, right? Treasury bills, you've made your money in Treasury bills, you're out. You made your money in currencies, you're out. So we're probably not seeing a heavy outflow, but what we're seeing is Eurobond will get priced first, and this will go into Treasury. So we're going to see now this week, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see Treasuries sell off. So you're going to see Treasury yields go back up, and we started seeing it now. Treasury bills that was auctioned at 17.8%, 1 year Treasury bill, 7.8% discount rates last week. Today is around, it closed at 18% yesterday. So you're now seeing Eurobonds played out. So
But isn't that the correction that Otuma was speaking to as well? So
Call it a
aren't
correction, call it profit
you guys
taking.
taking the glory too early?
No, call it correction, call it profit taking. But we saw Naira, we saw Naira dollar at 1,490 or so.
No, 1.5.
Okay, 1.5 is a 1.585.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
So
Mic
the thing is,
we're still up year to date. So what's
we're
your
still
point?
up year today. So yeah,
You
maybe
just
we
said
might
it
be
now.
gloating
Dollar was
early.
down. Dollar is down 2.5% year to date. We're still up.
but
year to
dollar's
date.
down, but we're
up at least 1 point something percent year to date.
Yeah, I'm not denying that, but you're seeing this.
Ugo is now going technical.
No, but you're seeing the move.
Facts.
You're seeing, but you're seeing the move.
Technical.
Anyway, but what I also heard though, Tunji, I also heard that because beyond all the treasury bills and yield shenanigans and global oil price, blah 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 blah. I've also heard, because part of what we also do is that we go to the streets and find out what's exactly going on. And so when the BDC operator says, look, there were a lot of payments that happened during the week, FG payments to contractors, and that is what is piling pressure on FX. So a lot of those payments went into
this week?
buying,
Yeah,
so
but that
kind of the payments started last week.
Okay.
So that essentially power pressure on demand for FX. And that's why you're seeing this exchange rate weakness. So I've heard that too. So, I mean, isn't that temporary?
But at the same time, you have oil go from a $70-something dollars to
just a
69.
slight dip, man.
Yeah, but
And it's back
Nigeria
up to
is priced with
70.
oil. We use oil to price the Naira. We use oil to price Nigeria. We
70
use,
to 69.
Either way,
I mean, is that how irrational traders are?
that's
with
how irrational
FX?
the markets
I
can
mean,
be. Even
for-
as the
I-
Newton
I-
said.
At the end of the day, this is all about demand and supply now, isn't it?
Ugodre, trust people to be who they are. As it just trust them. This person is a recognized foreign portfolio investor. He's a portfolio investor. He goes around the world. He's as profitable as how much he can make small spreads here and there. He has come into your country. He has made money, right? Why will he stay?
If I stay, I lose my job.
You get
I leave, I get the bonus.
it's not in
Why would I
his
stay?
character to stay.
Yeah.
He has made his money. Boom, he's out.
But I mean,
So-
listen, we all knew that the central bank, our policymakers, were trying to kick the can down the road until all our fundamentals caught up, is what we said.
Yeah, yeah.
Oil production and IOCs and everything. And unfortunately,
Trump happened.
Trump happened and everything has moved quicker than the space that they were waiting for. I hope I'm making sense.
So, in a nutshell, you guys are still bearish now.
Oh, I've been bearish.
Oh,
now.
bearish Naira.
Okay, bearish.
We have to go back to all your buy-seller holds.
Bearish Naira. Bearish
I
Naira
always said you
strong.
have to price a 10% depreciation per annum. I've always said that.
And I don't think this
On
is
a
a
good
bad thing,
day.
by the
On a
That's
way.
an
good
easy way
day.
out.
On a good day, no, on a good day, you have to price that the
Okay.
fundamental rule with
I don't
Nigeria, with emerging
think
market
a
is-
strong Naira really benefits us that much.
Well,
right
we've had
now.
a week for over a year now. I don't know how much benefit.
So
we've
I-
gotten.
so I-
But let me
I
ask
also
you-
feel like
but
there-
before you
yeah.
comment there. So one other issue we've also had is appears there's some kind of disconnect in policy objective between the DMO and the CBN. I think we kind of talked about that earlier,
Yeah,
where
yeah, you can see it.
the CBN is very careful. In fact, I was in some session recently where the folks at the CBN were saying, look, we have to be very careful about the gains that we've gotten so far. So it's good, but it's still fragile. So there's still a lot of work to do. But the DMO, on the other hand, too, are saying, well, we've borrowed a lot. We've borrowed pretty expensive. We've borrowed at yields at almost 30%. So the DMO is also refunding. I think Eggy mentioned some of this last time he was here. So how do they sort out the disconnect? So the government wants to borrow at a lower price, lower rate. CBN wants rates up.
I don't know.
Yeah. How do they sort that
Something's
out?
got to give, right? So there's going to be a constant battle between the fiscal and the monetary side, right? I know. I was not happy with the correction of the yields. That
I thought it was too aggressive.
I think it was too aggressive, right? And that's already playing out. This is barely a couple of weeks later. But on the fiscal side, I feel like first of all, our assumptions around the fiscal deficit this year, I wouldn't. It's definitely going to be worse. So I think the budget has it for 3.8. I was telling Godre earlier that I think that's easily going to be around 5%. Right?
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, is it around 5%? I mean, if you look at all that is playing out, right? We're borrowing aggressively. Even we talked about
The budget also went up.
We talked about the and the revenue assumptions, right? There was 2 trillion put in the budget as
Windfall taxes.
right?
Tax, yeah.
From just some of my informal conversations I've had is that with some of the banks is that there's been some sort of agreement between the tax regulators and the banks where those payments will be paid off over 3-4 years.
In
So that 2 trillion is not even coming in this year as
year.
well. So
No.
if you look at your revenue assumptions and you look at where you've borrowed, over the last 1 year, and just the fact that we're running a very big government, that deficit number is definitely going to hit somewhere around.
So
Don't
two
tell me
things.
are you
So
bearish for Naira like this, folks?
Yeah,
I have
mean,
always
he's
been long
It's always been. But
Based on my own situation.
What wounds me as we talk
I'm
about
long
this
US,
is the
so-
arbitrage opportunity that the central bank has created between its OMO and the T-bill, and I feel like policymakers need to be called out on it. Right, OMO is used as a tool to attract foreign investors, but as local investors, we can't partake in that 30%, 29%, 28% play. What are your thoughts on this? How does that get corrected? Because that arbitrage needs to be closed because it creates an opportunity for certain people to
I almost feel like they should.
Arbitrage between OMO and T-bills?
OMO and T-bills.
Yeah.
I almost feel
I
like
was saying that what wounds me is that arbitrage that this disconnect with central bank and.
I mean,
and
some of our
government
listeners, what
created.
does that mean? Like, what's the difference between OMO and T-bills?
Okay, so OMO is another money market instrument that is supposed to be an instrument used to suck up liquidity issued only to banks. But our central bank have been using it to attract foreign portfolio investors to stabilize the Naira. So what's happened is they've issued these OMO bills or securities at a higher or better yield than the debt management office has issued treasury bills. So you have and what this has created is created two markets, just like we had the foreign FX with two markets. You have 1 year security, Nigerian securities with two markets. You have the OMO and you have the treasury bills. And this spread, the difference between the yield on the treasury and the yield on OMO is quite wide.
And then this market is very purely fungible because you can basically just go from OMO to Treasury.
You
So
can. So you have foreign investors doing that, right? So because what happens is when the OMO gets issued,
can do that.
when OMO gets issued to a foreign investor, he buys that, and then what happens is in the secondary market, the OMO price now goes down to Treasury just to match, because market has to match laws of economics. But when this matches, you sell out and you made your money. Wow. So it's created an arb, right? An arbitrage opportunity. And that's why we had a lot of FPIs coming in, right? And no one's really coming in on it. So the debt management office isn't, although they are raising money, but the appeal isn't there for foreign investors. So for me, that wounds me because Nigeria has just become an arb market. I mean, that's one of the things that I noticed when I moved. You have ARBs, FX ARBs, Treasury ARBs, and
subsidy.
Yeah, so
electricity subsidy.
What do we do, Otumba? How do we get rid of this thing? Because this is something that probably.
I mean, there was that position by Sam where he said he will wreck a case where local investors were actually playing in the OMO window as well.
Yeah,
you know.
But does that solve it?
Exactly. I don't know really solve the problem. But
you just collapse the rate.
So there needs to be
OMO and TBO like the same.
There needs to be some policy alignment. I think that's the long and short of it. There needs to be a policy alignment where both houses need to know that, okay, this is where we're going to.
The truth is that they both have different objectives.
Both have
different objectives, right? I'm sure the DMO is saying, my God, the cost of borrowing is about to...
And is the CBN going to be okay in
snuffing us out
70 days' time with all the OMO they issued at 30% last year?
You know, and
has anyone asked that question?
Even funny enough, I was talking about the private placements earlier, the 5 billion private placements earlier. They're also short-tenured instruments. So they are anywhere between 3 to 12 months. Right, so those things are also obviously you give out almost. So if the investor is holding it, is like, you know what, I need to get out. They can come sell the almost in the market and get on the queue to.
But why in all of this do we think that foreign portfolio investors would just be sticky with us? I mean,
no,
this is not sticky guys. This is
not sticky guys.
Why would we think?
But foreign portfolio investments, exactly, they're never meant to be sticky anyway. So
yeah, but you can get stickier money, right? So the stickier money will come when so in 2015 or 2014 we got removed from the JP Morgan GBI bond index, right? Those guys will be sticky when we get back in. So you can't get foreign portfolio guys. The MSCI on the equity side. Yeah. We got downgraded from EM to Frontier to single name.
No status,
so you can get sticky money, right? You can get some sort of sticky FPI.
So my advice, if you're trying to, speculate on, or not speculate, you're trying to forecast on how you look at the Naira, you might want to just discount foreign portfolio investors in your
okay.
in your thinking.
So I mean, we've talked about this, I think, a couple of episodes ago. If you're the CBN governor now, and you're seeing everything playing out, you know that you don't want FPIs for too long. We've tried that before. Murphy tried it in 2018. Between 2017 and 2019, exchange was sticky at 360 until he got burnt out. And then we saw that massive depreciation happen with COVID as well. What does he do next? I mean, like, how do you get the fiscals to come on the table now? You
have to think about, revenue. Right? So I'm saying...
So what, tax us? Should we pay more taxes?
I mean... that's already happening. So the government is obviously clearly going to look for ways to tax, right? I think it's not going to be something that you can solve overnight.
Yeah.
Right. And
but we need it solved overnight. That's the point.
It's not possible.
No, it's not possible.
There's a price for your sins, right?
So windfall tax. I'm a tax fan.
Really?
Yeah, I like taxes.
Even the windfall tax, how much damage?
I'm a tax guy.
How much damage can it do?
Watching this?
So the windfall tax is not going to...
You like taxes?
Yeah, I'm a tax guy. You look at sectors that have outperformed in an abnormal markets and you tax them. Palm oil, those guys, Okomu, Presco, banks. No, I'm a tax guy. I'm a big tax guy.
I'm not sure what Arnold is trying to push.
I don't know. It's like an agenda.
No, I'm not trying to push.
I don't mind taxing real estate though, but
yeah, exactly. So
like I said recently, like the banks, you have.
I'm a big tax guy.
I was a bit worried
because how else do you raise money? How else do you raise money? I'm patriotic in that sense, and I'm going to be a bit idealist.
That is a short-term fix. Why don't you think about it?
You have a long-term fix. No, you have a whole.
Look at more structural. How can we diversify the? I'll give an example. I will give a very dramatic opinion. Right? Is that first of all, I would say some. For instance, now, why is NNPC, for instance? Why is NNPC, for instance, still importing fuel?
Yeah.
Right. as much as, we have a refinery today of 600,000 barrels,
Yeah.
50,000 barrels. Why are we not saying that should be the exclusive supplier of fuel into the country? Right? Where Dangote, you know what? Unfortunately, this is what it is, right? Dangote refinery is a national asset, right? We need to close our borders to importing fuel. Let's maximize that asset.
I mean, that's a good segue into the next topic, though.
Okay,
Go on. It's a good segue.
Right. So maximize the asset. Let the guy meet total, and you realize that what we say is our local consumption. Right. Those numbers are lies. Right.
I've not entirely understood why people are worried.
People say that we consume 80 million liters a day. A lot of that fuel is going to neighboring countries, and that's the fact. The actual consumption in Nigeria, I probably think is around 40 million barrels.
I think it's less.
40 million liters.
I think it's less.
Right. So when we had 80 million liters of fuel being consumed in Nigeria when we had subsidy. Right.
Yeah.
Now that subsidy has been removed, you see that those numbers will start correcting.
Yeah.
Right. But today, the only source of dollars to Nigeria today is central bank, because based on that Naira for crude thing that the NNPC is clearly not coming to the table with any dollars anymore, because they've already
a lot of dollars are mortgaged here.
They pledged all our crude for future contracts, right? So, it is the fiscal situation is quite dire, to be honest. I'm not particularly positive on it. I think that we're in for a tough time.
100%.
I'm going to do one of those crazy things,
and people should brace up.
I'm just going to do one of those crazy. This is one of the times where the president really needs to rally the people. And I think maybe we'll talk about it later with is he the coordinating minister of the economy?
Yeah, the finance minister.
Yeah. So, his projections, and those are the kind of things. And I think he needs to probably come on Drinks and Mics and, really break down into detail so that it is clear to everybody. Because the truth about it is that sometimes if we can all find an idea that we can stand behind, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the basis for which the idea of standing behind your budget is a fictitious number. The numbers
so those are the numbers.
Those numbers are not numbers you can meet.
I think they know now that they can raise.
You
money
can't meet those revenue numbers, right? So
we actually almost smashed revenue numbers last year.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're not going to this year. You're not going to do those numbers. Whatever numbers you have for this year, you're not going to match it, right?
I think you guys are just being pessimistic.
No,
because I think revenue numbers.
But we've been around Nigeria for too long.
I think the problem is deficit. Revenue numbers have been fine, at least last year.
So the deficit is going to be 5%.
Let's talk about NNPC. So NNPC has said that the contract that they had with Dangote and other local refineries expired. I think the 6 months. Crude oil for Naira swap or something expired. And interesting thing about that data, they said they were given Dangote 48 million barrels of crude over the last 6 months. So which is below
the commitment.
Yeah,
it's below that. I don't know what commitment, but that's below the
and
commitment.
then so Dangote has to augment by importing.
I mean,
as well.
Let's look at Dangote, right? It's a single train. So first of all, I'm worried. The design of the refinery, right, it was probably very egoistic, right? It's a single train, so essentially you put it here, it comes out here, right? You could have maybe 3 different lines, or maybe 200, right? Yeah. Where you can manage it, right? So just think about the cash flow requirement that Dangote needs to run that refinery. Yeah. You need 650,000 barrels a day.
Oh, so I get what you're saying.
At $70 times 31 days. So he probably needs about $1.5 billion every month to run feedstock through that refinery. It's a tall order, right? So I can understand.
And it needs a certain level of inflow.
What can you understand? You can understand what?
So I can understand what the man is going through, right? It's a lot of work.
But this is not really about what the man is going through, though. I mean, like he's big enough to sort that out. My question is, what does that mean for us? So NNPC probably renegotiating the contract with him. So if that contract takes longer than expected, and then he continues to import, what does that mean for FX? That's really my concern. Because the whole Naira for crude swap
but hold on.
was supposed to
but
be
you forget that even if Dangote was meeting the 650, to meet local demands, but let's even say I'll put the number is 400 to meet local demand. I'll put that number at maybe 300. He's also exporting.
Yeah.
So he's also, so as he's importing, so the impact is is being managed. So he's importing fuel, but also Dangote is exporting some to other countries, right?
But we've
So-
not seen the numbers yet, so I think it's safe to say that, you know, because yes, you have mentioned the resources required to run that plant.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. If you had broken it up into, you know,
but I'm sure he
bits.
was ready for it though.
But
I don't
again,
really think
I feel that he might have built it with the belief that he would have
that you would get feedstock.
unequal
Okay.
support.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
he was just
Yeah.
going to get support from.
He did. Yeah. I believe
but
that.
then.
But
It
then
turns out
Nigeria happened, right?
Nigeria
So,
happens. You know, if Nigeria can happen to him, then
it is a tall order, and I really hope he gets it right. It's a national asset for all of us. It's for the benefit of every Nigerian, in my view. But I think we need that. We need to plug the economy where we're producing locally. It's being moved by local.
yeah,
By everything's you localize it. The cash flow is local. You know,
the crude oil is sold in Naira,
we can't keep importing. And
dollarizing our economy.
And this is easily $2 billion of savings. If you can if Dangote Refinery, for example, could meet the demand. And you know what? Guess what? And guess what? If once you do that, I would not say we do what we did for cement, but to be honest, if that's what you need to get players to come and commit capital to the market, close the market for now. As long as Dangote can meet local demand and give incentives for new players to come and play in the market, to say, you know what, I will give you 3 years or whatever to come and build more refineries here, and you know, let's
get it.
Let's get things running. Let's have investors coming to the country.
The hard decisions that need to be taken. Nigeria will not be better overnight if we keep wishing for FPI. We have to.
FDI has to come in. Right? Also,
Yeah, it has to be FPI.
Yeah, FDI has to come.
FDI,
But we rely to FPI too much. It's a problem.
FDI follows FPI, right? So
it does?
Yeah. So FPI comes in first.
Anyway, talking about
Go out with news
FPI,
and
foreign trade data did come out during the week as well. Sure, some of us have
He
seen
likes
that.
his numbers.
Yeah, interesting
Trade.
numbers. Nigeria is doing roughly total trade 60 trillion or thereabout, and trade surplus of 16.5 trillion or so, 16.8 trillion. Even though some Naira hawks here won't acknowledge some of the successes that
of course we do.
we're recording from
Make
a
Nigeria
trade point
great
of
again.
view.
Let's clarify.
Let's analyze. That
I
trade
am
number.
short the Naira. I am long Nigeria. They are slightly
whatever
different
that
things.
It just means he's long Nigeria, but he's hedged.
Yeah.
You can't
He has
short
his house.
Nigeria anyway.
They are
because
slightly
it's
different
Toronto.
things.
He's hedged.
They're slightly
Anyway,
different.
foreign trade
things.
numbers are out. Any sticking points for you? Anything you see there that maybe caught your fancy?
No, I think we'll still have a current account surplus this year, right? Largely on the back of the fact that we're not importing as much fuel as we used to, right? Because the currency obviously got blown out. The amount of imports as well come to the country has also reduced, right? Dangote Refinery is also exporting, so those numbers look good. I tend to always refer to balance of payments from the central bank to give me a true
picture.
Because when you look at the data that comes through from the NBS and you look at the data, the balance of payments data, right, that comes from the central bank, there's always a huge variance, right? So I've kind of stopped looking at the NBS data. I just kind of focus on the central bank data. So I think
So you do know NBS's data is statistical, so it's like
we all have to choose what works for us.
It's
right?
not. It's no. It's so I take offense to that. It's not about facts. Statistics.
That's what you just said.
Statistics is not.
It's garbage in, garbage out.
I'm confused now. Are you guys essentially discrediting NB?
I'm not.
No, that's why
I was just echoing what he said.
No.
What's up with you guys today, though?
So for me,
Statistics.
But I just flagged something, right?
Okay.
There is a huge variance between the balance of payment data and the data you get from the NBS. Right?
Well, there are two different things anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the variance is a lot.
MBS data deals with actual trade, like physical imports of goods. Balance of trade data includes services, includes.
But the variance is huge. The variance
I mean,
is a lot.
we're more. How much we
We're more
spend on service imports
service-oriented
here?
than anything
Yeah,
else.
so you see that.
There's also
you always see that variance.
Yeah,
there.
and I think also, so I would rather use balance of payments.
I mean, balance of payment is good, but even at that, balance of payment wise, we've seen balance of payment current account surpluses since last year. Even though we don't have Q4 numbers out, but I think last Q3 numbers and most of last year we had current
Question
account
though,
surpluses.
what are the biggest exports outside oil?
Well,
You see? Cheers.
Cheers. So for me, so
what's your point, really?
No, I'm just asking. I'm curious.
Agri exports,
Okay.
yeah,
Like
like Sisonum,
the raw materials, right?
yeah, agri export. Yeah, I think Nigeria is pretty good on agri exports.
So for me, what stood out for me with the trade data is China, right? And I'll tell you why. China's our biggest trade partner. This China swap thing, right? I'm not sure how controversial of a view this is. I've been thinking about Naira stability. I know that the China swap thing came in, I believe, to stabilize the
2014,
Naira.
2015.
It came in, was it 20, every 3 years, right? So the first 3 years, Naira depreciated about 10%. Second 3 years, Naira depreciated about 124% or so. And then 2024 now going in. But I've been thinking about the idea of using this swap deal, supposedly a way to stabilize Naira. And I'll tell you, because I feel like it hasn't worked because the size of the swap is quite small, $2.5 billion compared to the $20
amount of
billion
trade.
trade. What do you think would happen if this swap deal? Because I know that when it was first introduced, my original thoughts were, this is China just trying to de-dollarize. It's not for the benefits of Nigeria, because they had the same deal with South Africa, same deal with Egypt. I think they were even talking about a Kenyan panda bond. So a Kenya bond that was priced in renminbi on. But I started thinking, what would happen if this goes from a 10% of the size of the trade to an actual $20 billion swap deal? Do you think this would actually help?
So basically, the entire trade
of China, just a swap.
Just swap.
That'd be massive. It'd
be huge because I think China alone represents roughly maybe 30 to 40% of Nigeria's imports.
Yeah.
I think we did 35 trillion. That's roughly $30 billion.
Yeah.
In 2024, China was 14 trillion, so roughly maybe 12 or so billion dollars. So
So why can't it be? Because now going back to your question of what would you do if you were a policy maker, why can't that be an angle? Because there seems to be a country that wants to do this. China wants to do it for wherever the benefit is.
Yeah. No, but before we get there, what would be the mechanics of this, right? 2.5 billion is the current figure.
Yeah.
If we move it to 20 billion, what does that mean we do? Do we?
So businesses will have to be responsible.
No.
Yes.
So the swap is really, I don't need to pay. We just
You don't have to use USD.
Yeah,
we
businesses.
just use receipts, right? Between both
you
of
go
us.
and swap.
So are you saying that I changed some of my reserves to renminbi?
Probably,
Yes, there would be.
our banks will have to start trading it, because in South Africa, for example, they do a bigger amount. One of the reasons is because you can actually trade rand yuan. In certain countries, Argentina, for example, you can trade in the banks. We can't. So our banks will need to start trading. The central bank maybe need to start using.
But is the renminbi as stable as the US dollar, though?
Stable in what way?
In terms of
There's no correlation.
Yeah.
There's no correlation.
Okay, so here's
so
what
if we were to move 20 billion, how much is our total reserves?
So here's what I think is the issue. Sorry, here's what I think is the issue, right? I don't think it's about.
No, that's where I was going. I was just taking you guys step by step.
You're getting it all wrong.
Okay.
So I don't think the swap is about the entire value of the trade between
Nigeria
and China. Yeah, I haven't seen details of the swap, but if you want to swap, well, you need to ask yourself, what is your own level of export to China and your own level of import to China? Because you're swapping currencies, isn't it? So what do they buy from you? So Nigeria's export to China
It's about 400 M. It was a 400 M
No,
in
it's
December.
probably about
So it's 2 points. So it's small. It's small.
annually $2 billion.
Yeah, it's small.
So it kind of looks like the swap was priced around
On that.
what we export to China. So that's what really needs to go up. So what we export to China
Has to increase.
is what the government needs to work on. So how do we get China to buy more of our raw materials?
What
Because
we
that's
export to China, so
Yeah,
we get
it's
we
tiny.
get renminbi anyway.
So the trade deficit,
right?
we have a wide trade deficit
But what
with
they
China.
bring into Nigeria, how do we buy it?
dollars.
And businesses
So
prefer dollars.
if the trade between Nigeria and China was, say, 60-40, then the
That'll be a
amount of
conversation.
swap will be a lot
Yeah.
higher. I think it'll be more tangible. But we're looking at 95-5. Or
Yeah, it's
thereabouts,
tiny.
Max 90-10.
Yeah,
So it's
and I
really
know in
tiny.
December it's about 1.2 billion
So
trade
the key thing
deficits
is
or
that
so,
with all
right?
these
So-
trade wars, you need to start to see, Nigeria's exports to China increase. And I guess that's where, the Ministry of Mining now becomes very, very important, because what China really needs from Africa, Nigeria especially, is raw materials.
Raw, yeah.
And
Or-
of course, there's conversations out there that they are actually getting some of these raw materials, albeit illegally. I mean, I don't know whether that's true, but that's some of the rumors that we hear. So how do you formalize that trade such that we can increase the level of export business that we're doing with China
Do you
from
know
what
the-
it is today?
So your
Then
numbers
you
just
can see
hit
the
me.
swap
Your numbers
numbers
just
go
hit
up.
me. You're trying to tell me that our trade deficit with China
Yeah,
is 20 billion minus 2.5.
of course, that's what it is.
That just hits me like a brick. That's
what it
huge.
is.
Almost 18 billion
That's
every year.
huge.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So there's gold,
We need to
there's
do more.
lithium.
Yeah.
There's,
There's a lot of those things. So,
That we
so
need
you
to
have to
formalize.
find a way of because
We
China,
need to do more.
China
We need to-
want
we
to
need to
buy.
be more
Yeah,
productive.
they want to buy what you can
Yeah,
give them.
we
So
need to be
you're
more
not, China is not going to come and buy cars from you.
no, I mean, there was that news.
I mean, like, what are they going to buy from you?
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
That's true. It's true.
So it has to be minerals. So how do you ensure that your mining sector is productive enough to sell to China?
Yeah, but there was that story. Was it last year where Zamfara State was building a tarmac, and the question was, what is the commercial sense in building
The tarmac,
a tarmac there, right? But then there's huge deposits of gold, which means that potentially those gold are being moved out on private jets
Yeah.
out of the country and not
Yeah.
even being recorded.
I mean, those stories
Yeah.
are
So
always
we don't know if those stories are credible, but
Yeah.
we need to essentially take that sector, those mineral sectors very seriously. I remember, was it 2 years ago? I went to Botswana and I visited some of their diamond mines there, and frankly, I was blown away in terms of the accountability.
Yeah.
The average Botswanan has never seen a diamond before.
Wow.
They know that's what feeds the country,
Yeah,
but they haven't
seen.
physically seen one. Ever. Some people who live through their whole lives and haven't actually seen an
never
actual
see
physical
one.
raw diamond.
Wow.
But the checks and balances that have been put around accounting for every piece of diamond found, it's an incredible story there. And we need to just sort of do some of these things, bring it to.
So I remember, I think it was the last episode or the one before, when Ugodre was talking about the Nigerian economy and their dream for a $1 trillion economy. And I was asking what exactly is going to make up that $1 trillion, right? Is it crude oil? Is it exporting jobs? Is it solid minerals? These are some of the conversations that we need to have. And I do like that the coordinating minister started, but he needs to drill into the numbers in terms of we need to focus on this and focus on this, so that at least those people who play in those sectors will know where to start, setting up and maybe projecting towards, so that you can be a part of this story. Because right now there's no way we close that gap, that 18 billion gap. There's no how we close it with the way we are running right now. The crude oil, I think we already have swaps with them, which is, accounted for. Solid minerals, I'm not sure we even have a coherent solid mineral
Strategy.
industry or strategy in the country. What is it? Jobs. They have cheaper jobs than we do. I mean, what exactly can we give to them if we do not
Raw materials.
coordinate?
Just to be clear on the data, though, Nigeria's import from China last year, 14.1 trillion. Guess what? It was 6.6 trillion the year before, perhaps maybe due to depreciation. Nigeria's export to China, 2.9 trillion. So essentially net 11 trillion or thereabout in terms of Nigeria's trade deficit with China. One other thing that we did notice, though, was Nigeria's largest export partner has now gone from Spain to Africa. Seems like, the African continent recorded a lot
That's
more.
an interesting one. It would be nice to see that data and see where those.
Yeah,
see what's going.
mostly crude oil. So does that mean that maybe
So are we selling more
perhaps-
crude oil to South
Yeah,
Africa?
to I'm not sure.
So
which of
the thing
African
about the
continent.
data is it powers Africa. Africa is not a country, so we're still not doing enough for Africa. Africa is so many different
Yeah,
countries.
but
it's
I mean,
if you
baby
look at
steps.
Europe, Germany
Africa
how
was
much?
nowhere-
UK was how
Africa
much?
was nowhere
Italy,
there.
Spain was how much? So for me, it's
Africa
like
was nowhere there.
It's
Nigeria's largest
I
export
don't think we should
partners.
pat ourselves on the back with that.
No,
one.
it's not patting yourself on the back, but I mean, I just noticed that there's a huge change. It used to be Spain, now it's Africa. So what does this mean?
Spain and Africa, it's a bit false to compare continent to a country.
Africa, no.
It's not.
Oh, come on, man. Africa is a country
Africa's-
in the context of global markets because of, I mean, look at it, GDP-wise.
Thank you.
GDP
Thank
was
you.
that
now.
This is like
This
calling.
is where I
This,
step
this is
back.
when Trump calls
Yeah.
calls Trudeau a governor. That's all. That's what they've done.
From a GDP point of view.
This thing, and this thing
From a
happens,
GDP
this thing
point of
happens
view,
a
from
lot.
a market's point of view.
Otuba, you've seen the Beijing Africa conference, right? Where
Those conferences.
Xi Jinping calls all African leaders and promises them $20 billion, and they all stand in line to take pictures with him.
Yeah.
Then they come one by one. Then
I remember that.
yeah, they do it every year. And then there's a US version. There's a
Africa is not a country, guys.
no.
Let's
No,
stop
we're not talking about Africa
separating
being a
these
country.
countries.
I'm talking about
Let's not-
markets. Even if you look at MBS data, MBS does Africa, ECOWAS, and others. That's how it's captured because there are so many African countries that trade between Nigeria or intra-African
Then list the
trade, those
countries out and let's actually
is
see the progress.
minute. It's not even enough for you to capture that data. So if you've been tracking this data for years, you would know. I can give it to you here. At some point, inter-African trade, between Nigeria and
Let's do
Africa
more. Let's
was
do
sub
more.
$1 trillion. Was sub $1 trillion naira.
There's still more to do.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, I don't deny that, but the point is that we've seen trade go up to over $8 trillion now. Now, the point I'm trying to raise here is, what does this mean for AFCFTA? Because right now,
Yeah.
to your question,
So-
most of the export was largely crude oil. But I mean, if we're beginning to
I'm
build
absolutely
very
fine.
good trading
Yeah,
routes
that's true.
with African countries, see, guys, this is serious.
Yeah, it is.
You're seeing a lot of Nigerian banks expand Africa-wise. You're seeing them open shops in several African countries: East, West Africa, Southern Africa. Probably haven't opened enough shops but at least in North Africa. But at least in Sub-Saharan Africa, you've seen a lot of Nigerian banks open shops there. You've seen Nigerian companies as well start to open shops in those countries, particularly oil and gas companies. Aren't we seeing some sort of move towards increasing intra-Africa trade in Nigeria? Aren't you guys seeing that happening already?
There is,
Yeah, the
but
numbers are
the
showing,
question
yeah.
is how to also move the goods across Africa.
These are
there's-
all the conversations
there's
that
a
need to be
huge-
had.
I know there's a huge interest in Congo right now. Right, I have a few friends who are beginning to look
Isn't
at
Congo going through Rwanda.
Yeah, no Congo.
No, as in isn't Congo and Rwanda.
Wow.
That was a big statement he just
Wow.
made because Congo, Rwanda, all the conflicts going on.
The M3.
Yeah, but there's money to be
I
made.
mean, but there's money to be made. I mean, like everybody's there.
Are we?
in
There's money to be
Africa.
made there.
No, but it's real though. It's real.
You know,
It's-
even if you go to the north, right?
Yeah.
You know, I know one time I was looking at Nestle numbers. A good part of what they sell to the north is a big part where you get Maggi, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the Maggi they sell in the north, a lot of them escape to Niger, Chad, Cameroon.
which isn't bad though.
You know, so there is, you know, the question is Africa as a continent, the infrastructure,
It's a
the
problem.
mechanism,
Yeah.
the tariff structure, all of these things need to be worked out, right? And I think, you know, well, now that everyone's saying America first, you know, we need to start saying, you know, Africa first, where, you know,
We need to be
African
saying
leaders-
Nigeria
I kind of hate
first.
that. Whatever first. Anyway, but I mean, that's just.
It's
But
a-
what?
It is where the world is going. You have to all
so
of
no
it.
more, no more. So globalization.
no,
and,
regional
none of
blocks.
that don't make sense. They were
Regional
like, this is actually
dominance.
the end of
No,
globalization.
no,
We're not
it's a
going to
phase.
protectionism.
Protectionism phase.
Probably
It's
is.
It's a phase.
Probably
It's
is.
the next stage.
Right
Next
now,
phase.
what the phase we're going into is regional dominance. America has said, "Let me focus on my wahala."
Europe
Europe is saying, "Let's focus on our
ourselves.
issues."
And Ukrainians.
You know,
Sorry.
Asia is
I'm going
saying
on
that,
myself.
you know, they
Yeah.
might be, they were fragmented at some point, but they are focusing on themselves. The Middle East is doing the same. Why is Africa, and to be honest, blocks in Africa are doing the same.
Are
Not
they?
to give credence to
The francophones are still.
yeah, the
broken
francophone
up.
parts,
Yeah.
you know, not to give credence to military governments, but at least that block is beginning to speak what is in it for us in this conversation. We're not just going to follow you blindly. What is in it for us? So there might be so
I'm not-
no.
Russia or us?
So the thing is ultimately there needs to be a level of skill to do this conversation. It's not a conversation. It's not just enough to have the ideology. You must have the required economic management skills to be able to go through with it. So if you say you want to change your trading partner from the US to China, it requires some level of sophistication to do it.
I mean, it's just about give examples. One of the things that we've talked about is how to have a common stock exchange across Africa. That is something that's been having for like maybe 20 years.
Yeah, for years.
So are we going back to the Africa as a country conversation now? Because if you want to have the common stock exchange, why do you want to do that? Isn't it because the markets are not lacking up?
Maybe not a common stock exchange. Maybe not a
But
common
he just
stock
said
exchange.
it was trying to do now.
Single currency.
Maybe not a common stock exchange.
They've been talking about single currency.
Even within West Africa.
West
hasn't
Africa,
happened- hasn't
yeah.
Why do you
happened.
think they're doing that?
I mean, I wouldn't support it, but I'm just saying is
He's trying to bait you.
Yeah,
I'm not
he's trying-
baiting,
yeah,
I'm
he's trying to bait
baiting
you.
you. He's trying to bait you. He's trying to bait you. So we're not asking for a common stock exchange. We're asking for a fluid stock exchange that allows me to move in and out of South Africa easily. That allows me to, I mean, I don't know much about Ghanaian stock exchange, but I mean, I think it's
Yeah, I mean, it's a liquid.
It's
But
liquid,
they have some fungible stocks, though, back in the ETI. EcoBank was fungible between Ghana and Nigeria for a while. And then the BRVM, which is the West, the Francophone side. So
that
the
would be good.
fungibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could
That would
buy
be
one
good.
stock in one country and sell it in the other country.
That would be
I'm
good.
not sure.
there was never a lot of trade on
No
that
trade.
trade.
I mean, only people that tried to move Naira out did it through Ghana and Ivory Coast.
All right, guys. So last topic today. I mean, I'm sure you guys weren't expecting this, but I have to go in this direction. You already.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should be
Hands
nervous or not.
So, going through some numbers recently with a group of people, and someone pointed out that Nigeria's largely informal market is probably the reason why we're where we are today. So, tax to GDP pretty low. Probably going to even get lower now that GDP is going to be rebased.
You love this.
We're also seeing
Excited.
it's difficult for governments to make across the country. Decision making. Data is also a problem because of that.
100%
Because
calculate
you have a
data.
lot of informal
Where people
markets. Capital formation is also a huge challenge because you have a largely informal market. That's why you're also seeing, Tunji's goons at the NBS telling us now that employment rate is 4% because they decided to bring in, the informal market into that employment number. So, I mean, the person was saying, look, this informal market is probably what we all need to be talking about.
Yeah,
How do
but he's
we
right, though.
go from an informal market to a formal market? How do you separate that from economic growth?
So the
from
first
getting
part,
to that 1 trillion.
So there's a guy that
Why are
actually
you
wrote a study
separating
on
it?
this.
Why are you
So
separating
there's-
it?
How do you not separate that? How do you bring it together? More
Marry
like,
it, yeah.
So an economist did a study on this, and I'm trying to remember his name. He used South America. He used America, from America being the wild, wild west, so how they got to where they are today. And then he looked at South America, and what this guy actually did, I guess, so a Nigerian economist should do this. What he did is he actually did some exercises. One of the first things he did is he tried to register a business in Peru or one of these countries. This was like maybe 20 years ago, and he realized that it took him maybe 30 days to register a business, when in the States you can do it in 1 day. In the UK, you can do it online. If you don't have any connections, this is South America. And when he realized that, one of the first steps to take to go from this informal to formal is registration, land registration, being able to actually register someone to property. Because he then went on to say that because of this property registration, you can actually now go to the bank in America, put down your property and remortgage your property, use that debt to start a business. If you can't actually register somebody to a property, then you can't actually then move on to paper currency and paper trading and loans. So to answer your question, and I see it's a bit long for me to actually go through the whole description, but I like to think that I've explained it in the sense that if you can actually register people,
So you think
to
land
property,
registration is probably the way to it?
register people to property, then you can actually move it from there to
Tunji,
the
I mean,
scale.
you've been in this space for a bit, some of the work that you do. If you were to advise a state governor today, how do you increase the percentage of formal markets to informal markets in the state economy? What do you do? How do you get the gala trader, the kiosk owner to get into
How
that
do you encourage
formal
them
market?
to register? Yes. How do
Yeah,
you encourage
or
them to
are we just maybe chasing dreams? Is this really an African thing? Is
it's not.
Africa really
It's a development
an
thing.
informal
It's a
market? So
development
do we
thing.
need to create a different kind of, economy?
It's a development thing. It's a
But if you-
development.
if-
Everyone
like-
has been through it.
So
America's
I
been through
love
it.
this conversation
South America's been through it. Asia's been through it.
because this is always the elitist response to the informal market. Where
That's some clout.
Okay.
where
He's always very sensitive about things like this.
where
Just
where
allow
we
him.
believe that we know how to organize them, right? So you can't tell me that the informal market in Nigeria is disorganized, but somehow when it comes to elections, we're able to galvanize 20 million
but-
voters. No, I'm serious. There's no difference in this structure.
You actually think 20 million voters is good enough.
Let me tell you something.
Anyway, but go on.
Our first 1,000 customers were acquired through a political structure.
Okay.
Simple. We just spoke to somebody. He's like, the person is a political agent in Ekiti State. We're like, we have this product. We're trying to sell it in he was like, he has people low. We're like, okay, for every person you bring, this is your commission, 1,000 people in a week. Bam, only him. And then the question is, do we lean on this? Because of course he's using his influence. I'm worried about the ethics of how we're going to go down this line. Is he explaining this entire? But what I'm saying is that there is a structure. We are trying to create the Western structure.
Okay,
It's just-
so what's
we
your
already have-
okay, hold on. What's your
can I
definition
quickly
of
chime
it? Wait, I want you to land on
Sorry,
this.
yeah.
What's
I'm
your
passionate about
definition?
this, 'cause-
What's your definition of a formal market from an African point of view? Maybe that will
Okay,
help
let's
us.
start there. Yeah.
a formal market.
Yes.
Somebody who has a bank account,
Okay.
somebody who is trading on a
Who's
daily
registered.
basis.
Exactly.
It doesn't
To have a bank account, you need to be registered.
No,
You
no,
need to be-
slow down.
All right.
It doesn't need to. He doesn't need to be registered as a
How-
business. I am saying that a lot of Nigerian businesses, as Tunji now, I start selling, I don't know, phones.
So you don't have to be an LTD, that's for sure.
You don't have to be an LTD.
Yeah, but as
now,
an individual,
do we
you need
need
to
to?
be
But you have
No,
registration to
exactly.
NIN
That's what
and
I'm saying.
BVN and all
You
that
need to
stuff.
be registered.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now,
having
in
an
that
account. So that's
registered.
formal market
And that's
to you.
what I- and
that's
that's-
fine.
so-
but that's global definition anyways.
Boom. So the challenge we have, the challenge that we've continued to have is that we've looked at NIN, BVN, driver's license, voter's card as all individual registration points. The first starts with harmonizing this data so that when you harmonize 4 data points to say Otumba is Otumba in NIN, BVN, national identification, we know that Otumba is at least Otumba, right? That starts there. Now, we also really need to understand that the definition of Western informal and formal markets is slightly different from here, because you see a guy in Aspanda doing turnover of 100 million naira every 2 days, right? There are some businesses that don't do that. There are some formal tax-paying businesses that don't do that kind of revenue. So, and the guy is still regarded as informal, while the business, because he has
Yeah, but we need to-
LTD,
okay, we need
is-
to- we need to-
Let me hear from you, Otumba, then I'll come back
I think
to you.
there's a few things that we need to do, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this might be elitist for you, but I spent some time in the Middle East, right? And there's the importance of, and you see the way things work there. They can connect your hospital visits with your driver's license, with your bank account.
harmonized.
So everything
Harmonized.
And so, for instance, now I feel like we having a NIN and BVN are two crazy things, right? These things should be harmonized into. There needs to be one number, and that number should almost be like your social security number, right? People should not be able to go to hospitals. Kids should not be able to register in schools if you don't have. So a parent would have a child. That child will be linked to your number. When the child is 18, then you disengage that child and maybe then allocate the number to them. But I'm just saying is that until we connect everything informal in this economy some way to the formal, This is
I
just
think the
this
problem.
is pipe dream.
I think the problem is that we are trying to look at it from the perspective of business and non-business. A lot of Nigerians do one-man business type businesses, and there are a lot. And I'm not talking about people that are
Tuji,
doing
that one man
10K.
business thing is.
I'm not talking about people doing 10K.
Sorry. Let me just help you align your thought better. So, I like that example of a one man that is doing 100 million.
Yeah.
In a real world,
Not 200 million.
is there anything like a one man
Business
business
doing 100 million?
that should, let's even say 100 million is possible, that should be doing 300 million, 400 million without employees? Because I at least I want to believe if you have employees, then you have some kind of it could be a sole proprietorship registration, license for you to trade and all that, rather than just you trading as Mr. Tunji Andrews alone. How does the government, beyond the NIN and BVN conversation, how does the government formalize businesses like that and ensure that they are captured adequately?
No.
Maybe
Leave the businesses.
Okay.
Leave the businesses first. The business is the businesses are started by Nigerians, right? Now there is no how Otumba starts a business, even if it's a one-man business, that his personality won't be tied to the business enterprise that he's doing. So maybe he's using his personal account to do it, but the money is passing his bank account, Abi. If there's a harmonization of his NIN, his BVN, everything, and then every time money passes through his account, because we have one social security number, it is counted somewhere that Otumba his turnover in his 17 bank accounts across Nigeria is 700 million. Abi, whatever it is. Do you get? Now, you can start that tax conversation from Otumba. So Otumba will now have to come to us as the tax authorities to now explain that, this 700 is not my own. No, 200 was Ugodre's own. 100 was, because that is how you start. So, especially because we know that there are more one-man businesses in Nigeria than actual enterprises.
So did it?
So I think that this journey of identity must start from birth. And it needs to start from your birth certificate. The moment you have a birth certificate, a BVN, or whatever that number should be issued, right?
And
NIN.
Isn't that the way it's done anywhere else? It's the only way, right? And then those things should then be linked to maybe a parent. Because if you don't start that way, boom, right? So and when a child, so
what happens if you don't start that way? Finish. I want to finish. I don't think.
If you don't start that way, there's no way you're going to capture. There's no way you're going to capture.
Okay.
Because the thing is, people are going. There's something people are going to do in life. People will go to school. People will go to hospitals.
They'll use bank.
No, not even bank. Forget bank. Bank is elite. There's certain things that, phone numbers. There's certain things. I look at activities that where can we catch people and where can we capture that data?
Okay, so these things exist already. We all know.
Yeah, so it's the harmonization that doesn't exist. One system.
Even if you decide you even want to use NIN alone, it exists. But let me give you a scenario. You just bought a house for, let's say, 50 million naira. You sell it. You bought it last year for 50 million naira. You sell it for 100 million naira this year. You made a 50 million naira profit. You're meant to pay 10% capital gains tax. Okay? Not even property tax. 10% capital gains tax. I hope I'm correct. Right? Why can't the government get you to pay that tax? Should I be asking you, Arnold?
So hold on.
You're the tax
person.
Why can't you pay that tax? Because, they have your NIN,
one of the biggest
they have your
things
BVN. What is the big deal?
One of the biggest things we need in this country is land reform.
Why do you need land reform to get that done?
We need because if and when that land was linked to
that's what exactly was saying, land registration
BVN, the moment even for Arnold to transfer ownership to me, there's a process. It's going through a system.
And they can know where you are, who you are.
Changing
Yes.
to me.
Yours,
so the government should know the moment you're changing that land from Arnold to me. Even if it goes into a property. So it goes into an SPV, right? There are people that are linked to the SPV. So
what makes you think the government don't know? So I heard a story a few days ago. Someone told me a story who's in real estate. Says, look, there is a particular property that was the owner was in default, had a mortgage, was in default, and he was taken to court. so that they can essentially take over the property. I understand it can take 2 to 3 years sometimes to get these things done. And then the guy now, while in court, sells the property to someone else. Of course, the person who was buying didn't know that property was in court. But of course, the person knew that there was a lien, because you can always go to the state and you can check and saw that there was a lien. I just thought it was just a regular lien, and then went on and bought that property off that person. And now that guy that has bought the property lives there and is now part of the entire case. He has joined the case. So in that kind of situation, right? What is the state government meant to do, though?
So that's what I'm saying. That
is it more?
If everything you need to do is the economy, I'll give you an example. Your Emirates ID is more important than your passport, because everything around your life is tied to that. So even you going to court, right? I'm taking you to court with your Emirates ID. Is the Emirates ID is tied to that lawsuit. So the moment one downloads,
let's start with identifying the person. Everything else follows suit,
and then you link.
Everything else follows suit. Nigeria has more one-man businesses that are thriving.
No, but the truth is, to build this means that even that hospital in Iragbiji or some
needs to turn people away if they don't have it.
Needs to have a computer or a government system where they can register people, right? Where you go to the hospital. Where is your ID card? All of the things have to exist. But if you go to some of these places, there are no cell towers, there's no electricity. How do you start achieving this? And then obviously education and illiteracy is also going to play a huge.
Interesting. I believe this is not going to be the last time we're going to have this conversation, because we do need. I'm very big on formal markets, capital formation, and being able to grow this economy. I kind of feel you can't grow this economy if you don't, as much as possible, put some structure. I agree with Tunji. I mean, we're the ones just thinking maybe it's informal. Maybe it's just us not properly capturing the data, because, I mean, that business is probably formal enough. We're just not the one capturing the data. But as usual, guys, we usually go with our buy, sell, or hold. So we'll do buy, sell, or hold this week. I'm going to start with you, Tunji. I like how you did it.
He's ready.
So we'll start with you. I mean, even though I know where you stand
your
on
buy,
this.
sell, or hold is weekly now.
I know where
it's a weekly view.
I know where he stands on this, but I mean, I'll just do that. I'll just do that. I know where he stands on this.
People have been moving, have been changing.
Buy, sell, or hold. Trump is going to win this tariff war.
Win. I buy. I'm very long Trump. I'm very long Trump.
I know buy, sell, or hold. Trump's winning this tariff.
I think he finds the middle ground.
It's hold to sell for me.
Hold to sell. You always use that.
That's sellish.
Sellish. Cautiously pessimistic.
because I think that China is going to. I think China is going to emerge
the winner.
A winner and they have already in many ways in data I think China is going to change a lot of things, right? The only thing that remains for China to give to the world is, how you wake up and you say, there's this thing that America has sold to the world, which is the American dream.
Yeah.
The moment people can wake up and say, I have a Chinese dream, and that's the end. That's the end.
Actually, I do think that China already has the edge in this war. And if you ask me, if I'm trying to
Trump
make...
is going to win now.
No. If I'm trying to make sense of the madness that Trump is doing, is because he knows he's coming from the losing.
Now is madness to you?
No, because yes, I did say he has Agbero tendencies. I don't like the fact that he lacks finesse. However, if you strip
for the international audience, what's Agbero do?
Oh, so in Nigeria we have
Don't even try. Explain this. We have to see him explain this
seriousness.
So in Nigeria we have our hoodmen, our roadmen. They're fantastic guys.
Hoodlums? Is that
no hoodlums.
Oh, okay.
Our roadmen. So
Roadmen.
if you're from the UK, you understand what a roadman is. So our Agberos are, the guys who you meet.
Bus conductors.
No, they're not bus conductors all the time. They're
area
boys.
All right, buy, sell, or hold. Trump is going to fire Elon Musk before the end of this year.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's an interesting one. I hold because it does feel like it is Musk is going after things that people will not allow him win in. So they will try to create enough ruckus to make him not get there. And it would be too much collateral damage for Trump's presidency, and he might need to cut ties eventually. But that doesn't say that I do not buy into what Musk is doing with Doge.
Answer now, buy, sell, or hold.
So I'm hold.
So ask me again.
Trump is going to fire Elon Musk for the end of the year.
He won't. So
For end of the year.
Nah, I think there's something going on there that we
So.
yet to understand.
By end of the year.
That's a hard one because their personalities are.
Strong.
The problem is that even if Trump messes up, you can't fire him because you've basically built your entire presidency on the star boyness of Elon, right?
Yeah.
Which is like you have to then eat the humble pie and say I was wrong.
Yeah.
Now is Trump going to come out to say I was wrong? Unlikely. But he might find a narrative to say, like his TV show, you are fired.
Yeah, fired. Yeah.
Fired.
So that's why I'm
buy-sell
hold.
hold.
I'm hold on it. But
So-
I do not think Musk is doing wrong. But yeah, I get it.
All right, buy, sell, or hold. Nigeria. I'm Nigeria now. Come in here. Yeah, I'll come back home. One more buy,
Yeah.
sell, or hold before we end. Buy, sell, or hold. Physical deficits going above
5%.
above. Like, I don't even call it 5%. Above statutory limits.
Bio. We all know it does now.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Wow.
Yeah, bye.
Government says they're not.
I wish I said
Bye.
prove me wrong.
I mean, this current government.
I would like to be
Bye.
pleasantly surprised.
The risk of the environment is suggestive of things are going to deteriorate further.
Yeah.
And we are, and I
That's
said,
tough.
yeah, I think it's ready for that. I think we're in a fragile.
So you don't think we're at a pivotal point where inflection points where
I would have
it's
said so
already
if,
deteriorated, so we're just-
if things were stable globally, right?
Yes.
And we were then on this road.
things aren't that
yeah.
unstable globally. I mean, listen, I think we need to block out the stock markets. And that's what I'm trying to say
link
to
stock
people.
markets, there
This is what I'm trying to say to people. When you see,
uncertainty.
you look at US
There's
stock
a lot of
markets.
uncertainty. I know
No,
you cannot.
like
You cannot discount. You cannot.
Trump tariffs, I understand, but I don't think things are that unstable. That's why I'm
We
like,
are
the
in
stock
a-
market
we are
is
in
making
a
everyone say
war.
there's a recession coming. It's not that bad. It's really not that. Anyway,
I agree
So,
it's not that
I
bad.
think
but
that-
It's not that bad, but the market, people are going to react.
the market are still reacting.
They're going to react when they need to
market
react.
always overreacts.
Next buy, sell, or hold.
Market overreacts. We all know that.
Buy,
market
sell, or
overreacts.
holds. Interest rates back up above 20%.
Interest rates.
Which of interest rates?
NPC?
Nigerian interest rate. Yeah, Nigerian.
Above 20%.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
NPR.
Treasury bills, automobiles,
Yeah.
back above 20% before MPC.
NPC is May.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Back
April,
to
May, April,
back
May,
to
April, May,
back
April,
to
May,
pre
April, May.
pre January levels. I mean,
So this is April. Okay, 1920 is possible. May.
I think the upside is. I think the risk.
Oof, it's tough. 20%.
you're meant to be first. You
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
buy, sell, or hold.
Because I'm just trying to think of what needs to happen.
I hold. Because I don't see.
You think yields will remain?
I think they will remain where they are. Because see, there's a few things. And
No.
the government itself is pushing towards a more expansive economy. They're trying to target 7% GDP. Abi, that's what Edu said.
You said 5%.
Uh-huh.
But they're also trying to raise though.
So
So
that's
you've got to
the
make it
point.
attractive.
But I
Right?
don't
Because of
think
this
I don't
fiscal,
think
they're trying to
I don't
raise.
think raise is the only way to get there.
Yeah, but that's what
I'm
they've been using.
Buy, sell, or hold.
Okay, so there's no time.
Yeah, I
Buy,
say
sell,
hold.
hold.
I say hold. I
Buy,
say
sell,
hold.
It's gonna go. I think now the more I think about it, we get back to 20% discount
So you buy.
before May. Yeah, bye.
It's going up.
Yeah.
Buy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This has been Drinks and Mics brought to you by Nairametrics. We do this every week. In case you're just watching for the first time, of course, follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe. We've heard a lot of your comments, a lot of your feedback. We're working on a session pretty soon. Might not be live, might be something different, but just have an audience at some point. We're working on that. Some of you who have also said, when
are you going to get a female guest?
We are working seriously on getting a female guest. Yeah. If you have anyone that you want us to talk to, suggest as well in the comment section.
course.
Or anybody you want us to bring on Drinks and Mics, do let us know. So we can.
So I don't know about
here as
everybody
well.
else, but I follow the comment sections, and so we're planning an exclusive event where we're going to have it in front of an audience, and it's going to be. It's not a large audience. It's probably like maybe 10, 12, 13, 15 people. So we're going to have to pick a few people from the comment section. So please let your comments show us, some reason why we should have you in that crowd.
All right, thank you very much once again, and of course, thanks to Ledrop for the drinks, and of course,
Thank you.
cheers to everyone.
Thank you, Ron.
Cheers,
for
guys.
today.
Because in this economy, to be giving you this kind of
Until we do this again next week, do have a profitable